an American television tradition, brought to you by Gentle Joy, the dishwashing liquid with the mildness you can see on your hands. And Liquid Pearl, the shampoo that's extra rich to drench your hair in luxury. Hello, everybody. Within seconds, you'll see Mr. This Is Your Life himself, Ralph Edwards, in an unexpected place, making a magical appearance. We're about to turn the tables on a famed and fabulous man. Watch now. You'll see and hear this master of surprises, the great magician Blackstone, who, unknown to himself, is about to get the surprise of his life.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to present. Well, I'm going to present and show you a miracle in modern magic. In this empty cabinet you see behind me, I bring to life a most beautiful girl.
Well, how do you do, Harry Blackstone?
Where have you been all this time?
My name's Ralph Edwards. Now, I know that you, sir, one of the greatest magicians who ever lived, truly expected a beautiful girl to appear. The girl you've been rehearsing a film commercial with, Darian Loomis here. Thank you, Darian, for helping us out here. Now, Darian, you see, was here, but this was our way of fooling you, of getting you to California from your home in New York City, sir. And it's my great pleasure and privilege to say to you, the great Blackstone, master of the mysterious, a Merlin on the grand scale tonight, this is your life. Blackstone, yours has been a lifetime of springing surprises on millions of people. Did we surprise you tonight?
You certainly did.
I think we really took you by surprise.
I saw you many times on This Is Your Life.
Yes, sir. Well, tonight it's yours. Thrills and chills await our viewers all over America as we recreate your amazing life and see some of your unduplicated feats. Across the hall right here and across the nation, our This Is Your Life audience waits to salute you. And now, with your closest friends, Charles and Valerie McDonald. Thank you, Valerie and Charles. Oh, my, we're going to... They've been in on the whole thing here. Charlie has been, for years, your manager and partner. Let's make that brief journey across the hall. While we do, here's Bob Warren to tell us how we can make magic in our own lives. Bob?
Well, how do you change moving day blues into good news? Watch as great... Ladies and gentlemen, an air of witchcraft settles over our This Is Your Life stage as your host, Ralph Edwards, appears with tonight's honored subject, the Dean of the World's Master Magicians, the one and only Blackstone.
Please don't make yourself disappear, Mr. Blackstone, because we want you to say hello to your young friend, Aubrey, one of the greatest manipulators and sleight-of-hand artists in the world today. Aubrey's hands will be seen often as your story unfolds. Yes, the spooky number 13 figures in your destiny as we begin your story in Chicago, where your mother, Barbara Elizabeth, is a milliner by trade, and your father, Alfred, is a hatter, because the great turning point of your life comes when you're 13.
That's the first time I've seen his picture in years.
Yes. And you sell newspapers to get the money to go to the McVickers Theater to see whom?
Keller.
Yes, Harry Keller, a leading magician at that time. The wonder and mystery of that performance of magic so stirs you, you know that very day that all you want from life is to be a great magician. You tell your parents all about it, and you're a lucky boy because your father is all for you and encourages your enthusiasm. Would you like to sit down here, Mr. Blackstone? With books from the library, you start to study the ancient art of tricks, illusions, which go back to Egyptian times. Finishing school, you work as a cabinet maker and as a pattern maker for a steel company. And still your affectionate father helps you as you build and sell tricks to professional magicians. One day your father is removing the lead from a real bullet to make a blank for use in a trick. And what happens to your dad, Mr. Blackstone, on that?
The bullet blew up and went through his head.
Right through his cheek there, and later he died of the wounds, did he not?
That's right.
Before we continue with your career, let's jump forward over the years and see you as your father surely dreamed you'd someday be. On stage before a great audience, performing one of your greatest illusions, sewing a lady in half with a buzzsaw. There you are. There it goes. That's tremendous. Just Yes. Amazing. Breathtaking. Marvelous, Mr. Blackstone. Back now to your young manhood. When you spend the years of your youth developing the incredible dexterity of your hands, and when you're ready, you take your family name, Bhutan, and begin your first stage act, the Bhutan Brothers in Straight and Crooked Magic. And here to surprise you is the beloved partner of your entire career, from Colon, Michigan, your brother, Pete Bhutan. Here's Pete. In your stage act, two wonderful brothers that really love one another. Throughout the years, they have had some wonderful experiences together. In your stage act together, Harry trained you to become a magician and a clown. Now, once when you were just getting started, Harry built an illusion where you were to disappear in a box on stage and appear again running up the theater aisle. Now, what happened there, Mr. Bhutan?
Why, in order to get around to the front of the theater in time, I had to go through the ladies' dressing room.
Mm-hmm. Down in the basement?
Down in the basement.
Yes.
And then out in the alley and to the aisle of the theater. Mm-hmm. Well, I vaulted the rail all right, slid down the stairs, and fell into a paste barrel.
Into a what?
Into a paste barrel.
Oh,
on my way out, as it started down the aisle, I was scraping the paste off. It was all over me.
Yeah.
And I just distributed paste all through the aisle. After the show was over, the manager came back and wanted to charge us $6 for cleaning up the mess.
Aside from the fun you both had, you, Harry Blackstone, become one of the most daring performers ever to do the underwater escape act. With your hands manacled and chains, you permit yourself to be nailed into a box, weighted with iron. More than once, it is only your splendid physical strength that saves your life. Thank you, Mr. Pete Bhutan of Colon, Michigan. Pete's wife, Millie, is here, too, your wardrobe mistress for 13 years. Here's Pete's wife, Millie. Sir, you're going to see them all right after the show and the party. Thank you, Millie and Pete. The skill of your hands in tricks of magic is matched by your original ideas. You plan an ever more lavish show. Taking another family name, Blackstone, you set up a workshop in Colon, Michigan, where you create apparatus for new and astonishing illusions.
And there in Colon, one night, Harry, you saved my life.
Your able assistant for 14 years, whom you haven't seen in 12 years, here from Des Plaines, Illinois, is Ralph Bud Doremus. Here's Bud. Mr. Blackstone saved you from drowning, didn't he, Bud Doremus?
Yes, I was a very young boy in those days. And one night I dove off the pier and got tangled up in the seaweeds, and I blacked out. Harry found me and pulled me on the dock and pumped the water out of me.
Here in the 1920s, you remember that, of course.
I remember it.
Here in the 1920s, creating the original illusions that are to make you famous, you especially love to work with animals, Mr. Blackstone. And that must have been fun for you, Bud, when you were a boy.
Oh, it was a pleasure, believe me. Harry, I think at the time you were working on the vanishing horse and the vanishing camel. Oh, we had lots of animals in those days. We had There was ducks, there was Russian wolfhounds, there was 500 rabbits.
2 lions.
Yeah.
Male and a female.
That's right.
Then a camel, 2-hump camel,
Yeah.
an Arabian horse.
That's right.
We had a thoroughbred horse.
Yeah.
We had a Shetland pony.
Yeah.
We had a burro. And 16 Russian wolfhound dogs.
Yeah.
And 18 white geese, all in one team.
I'll never forget it, how we used to take them up the island and you'd pension them off up there for life. It was wonderful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you. Bud Doremus of Des Plaines, Illinois. Mr. Blackstone, you take it easy now. Catch your breath for more surprises. In a moment, we want to relive with you the greatest trick you ever did. But now, Bob Warren here has a word for everyone.
And the word is Edwards, and to This Is Your Life, the great showman who became the Ziegfeld of magicians, Harry Blackstone.
And to your greatest trick of all. It's 1942 now. One day in Decatur, Illinois, you're giving a matinee show before an audience of 3,000 people, mostly children.
Mr. B, in the middle of the show, my husband, Ted Banks, walked up to you on the stage and whispered quietly in your ear.
The voice of a close friend, the widow of your former stage manager, Ted Banks. Here from Colon, Michigan, is Mrs. Sally Banks. Here's Sally. Why did your husband, Ted Banks, walk up to Mr. Blackstone during the show and whisper to him, Miss Banks?
Well, a serious fire had started backstage, and there was great danger. But up to this time, the audience hadn't seen any smoke or flames. And at this moment, Mr. Blackstone showed his greatness. He held up his hand and asked the audience to follow him. He said he had a trick so vast that it could not be done in the theater. So he said, you will all follow me up the aisle and to the outdoors, and I will show you the greatest trick you have ever seen.
All those people walked up.
Then all of those children and the adults followed him to the outside of the theater.
Yes. Without your calmness, many lives might have been lost, Mr. Blackstone. And back in the theater, what happens to your stage manager, Ted Banks, Mr. Blackstone, at that time?
Well, the following, he was the one that came, having told the fire chief was coming out to explain this to the people. And the way he said it, I said, let me go out, let me explain it. So I told him about this illusion I was going to perform in the air outside the theater. But one lady couldn't get out of her seat, she was so fat. She had the seat had jammed in. And my son and another person had to help her to get out. So I walked very slowly out the door with her. Just about this time, 5 buildings were afire on the other side.
And Ted Banks was busy fighting the fire, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
He became completely exhausted, I understand.
He was. He went home to lay down. And he never woke up.
He died of a heart attack.
Yes.
A brave man, Ted Banks, as you were yourself, Mr. Blackstone. Now, thanks to you, Mrs. Sally Banks of Colon, Michigan. Meanwhile, you married Billy Matthews, a woman of energy and talent who helped you rise to the pinnacle of theatrical fame. In 1934, she presents you with a son.
Thanks, Dad, for the endless hours of joy that you've given me in telling me of your art and teaching me the wonderful tricks that you've taught me. And to prove that I've really learned my lessons, I'm going to do a trick that you taught me.
It's your son, a gifted magician in his own right. He's here from Austin, Texas, where he's a very popular newscaster for station KTBC, which carries this program in Austin. Your boy, Harry Blackstone, Jr. Harry?
Yes? Yes, indeed. As I said, I'm going to show you a trick that you taught me. And, as you would say, a bird in a cage. A real canary. I want you to keep your eyes on the bird and cage, and it'll disappear right at the tips of my fingers. I hope.
Chip off the old block. I was just going to say that. Chip off the old block. You traveled with your father's show almost all your life except for school years, correct, Harry Jr.?
Yes, that's right. and it was a real thrill and an honor and a privilege to travel with you. You remember the time, I believe it was in San Diego, when you were doing the levitation, and this is the trick that a young lady floats in midair after she's put asleep.
Yes.
And a fellow out in the audience yelled to you, "Hey, she's being held up by wires." And in your inimitable fashion, you walked out into the audience and surveyed the scene, looked it over very carefully, and said, "Oh, no, you can't see those wires."
Thank you, Harry Blackstone Jr. of Austin, Texas. Wonderful boy. For decades, America is enthralled with your magic, Mr. Blackstone, just as we are now, watching you on a film in which you do your famous dancing handkerchief illusion. Your company of 30 people is treated by you as if it were your own big, warm family. And here is one of your glorified girl assistants who worked in many of your illusions from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Harriet Canel. Now, Mrs. John C. Luce. There's Harriet.
Mr. B, yours is the art of magic, but it's no mystery why we who worked with you love you. When you had a steak for dinner, we had a steak. And when somebody wanted to get married, you paid for it, plus a party afterward. And if somebody needed an overcoat or a suit and they couldn't manage it, you bought it. But best of all was your wonderful warmth and kindness, love, the expression you showed to every single child that ever came up to get one of those wonderful bunnies.
Thank you, Mrs. Harriet Luce of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 1943 finds you playing your role in America's war effort, traveling 36,000 miles to 144 service camps to entertain our troops. Often you go almost without sleep after doing 3 or 4 shows a day, to sit up at night as long as one single soldier or sailor in a hospital room needs cheering up. While you carry our GIs into your world of magic, you sometimes encounter at these camps and bases a friend of yours who took those same servicemen into his world of mirth and laughter. He, too, began his career as a magician. Here he is, Charlie McCarthy's employer, Mr. Edgar Bergen.
Sit down, Harry. I wanted to bring you some California roses, but I had a little trouble in my greenhouse. I brought you a rose bush instead. See, I have my gardener. He's not well trained at all. He doesn't speak English. I told him to leave the light lit all night, but he got lit instead, and I went out there this morning, and everything was potted, including my gardener. I'm very proud of this rose bush, Ralph. It blooms in artificial light, and with all the light you have here, I say that bush will bloom in 30 seconds, or I'm no magician. And this could very well be true. And if it's a few seconds late, don't panic, because it has a touch of aphis, and I forgot to... Yes, I forgot to spray some aphis on the aphis. That was it. Well, Harry, I first met you in 1922. I was an usher at the Victoria Theater in Chicago at Belmont and Sheffield, and you were doing your wonderful 2-hour show there. And I used to sneak backstage and talk to you, and you gave me encouragement and help, so I wanted to be a magician. And as the people walked out of the theater, they all said, "How does he do it? How does he do it?" So I gave some magic programs, but no one ever asked how I did it, so I gave it up. Well, I tell you, we of the magic fraternity...
Say, they did bloom. Look at that.
We who like magic, we all love you and respect you, Harry. And we know that the title of great belongs in front of Harry Blackstone.
Edgar Bergen, thank you. Say, these are real.
I'll take my pot and go.
Oh, thank you, Edgar Bergen, very much. Well, I suppose you know how he does that. Aubrey's great. The year 1947 finds you at the very pinnacle of your career when illness strikes you. Recurring attacks of asthma that force you for a time to abandon the stage and go in search of health to Biloxi, Mississippi. Your earlier marriage had been dissolved some years back, and it was there in Biloxi that you met your present wife, Betsy. And here she is, Mrs. Blackstone.
Well, I met Harry 11 years ago when we were in Biloxi, Mississippi at the gay clinic. Remember when we sat and walked and we talked about our symptoms? We had one great thing in common, the medicine cabinet. I thought romance was over, but before very long, his magic worked again, and ours has been a wonderful marriage.
No, it has. We're glad you both fully recovered your health and have each other. We have another magical appearance or two still coming up. Let's us sit down here, and we'll listen to this word from Bob Warren.
Thank you, Ralph. Something important is going on. A girl's engagement is about to be announced.
Back to your life, Mr. Harry Blackstone. Magicians are a closely knit fraternity with societies and clubs all over the world. Just as Edgar Bergen and your other friends here tonight look up to you, you too, in your younger days, used to know and admire the late, great master of magic, Howard Thurston. Isn't that so, sir?
Yes.
Howard Thurston had a daughter who often saw an unforgettable sight.
Yes, Mr. Blackstone. It was when you visited us many, many times backstage and at our home.
Yes, Howard Thurston's daughter, Jane, has come from her home in the Florida Keys. You haven't seen her since she was 17 years old. From Isla Mirada, Florida, here's Mrs. Guy Lynn. Jane. I'll bet things disappeared all over the house when your dad and Mr. Blackstone began trying out each...
The liquor disappeared.
How about that?
You look good, Jane.
Thank you, sir. So are you. Well, I do have many priceless memories of magic, Mr. Blackstone. And my daddy considered you a great showman and a magician's magician. And when?
You remember the time when, what would you call, I went up, you came up with theater, I got some of the boys, we went down to your house to look for them, and the phone came and I answered the phone, and she said, Blackstone, she said, who? You got to talk to her, and I answered the phone.
Oh, I see. You had me confused there with a... what were you saying? I was going to call you that lip one. You're crazy. Yes?
Well, I was just going to tell you that when my daddy did pass away, and the mantle of greatness fell from his shoulders, it came naturally to you. And I feel as though he's standing with me tonight in this wonderful tribute to you as today's greatest living magician.
Thank you. Those are very nice words.
Thank you, Jane Thurston, Mrs. Guy Lynn. Come on, everybody. Mr. Blackstone, tonight there'll be a party in your honor at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, where all your family has been staying and friends. You'll have your own film of tonight's program, plus this Bell & Howell sound projector for viewing it in the comfort of your own home, and this Bell & Howell camera, which works magic as you make movies of your own. For your wife, Betsy, we have asked Marshall Jewelers of Fifth Avenue, New York, to design this special gold charm bracelet that Bob Warren is giving to Ms. Blackstone there, holding mementos in gold of the most cherished events in your life. Mr. Blackstone, we understand that soon you and Mrs. Blackstone will make your home here in Southern California. And when you do, you'll need a car. So the Ford dealers of America want to demonstrate their special kind of magic for you. You watch now. The 6-passenger Ford Falcon wagon, magically new in design, you'll find it has an amazing amount of room inside, and on the road, the Falcon wagon will help you make gas station stops practically disappear, and I know that you and Mrs. Blackstone will enjoy your Falcon wagon for many years to come. Mr. Blackstone, the utterly unexpected way has been your way throughout your professional life, so permit us to recreate now an illusion you used to do in your first full evening show many, many years ago. Let's watch now. Here's Aubrey. Here they are, the apple of your eye, your only grandson, Harry Blackstone III, and his mother, Alita Blackstone, your son's wife from Austin, Texas. There they are.
For your new California home, Mr. and Mrs. Blackstone, This Is Your Life has commissioned artist David Immerman to paint this portrait of Harry Blackstone III. Here he is. There's the third, and here's Almeda.
75 years of goodness, of wholesome and unique entertainment, always giving your best, whether the audience numbered 5,000 or 5. You've made your standard the one described by William Shakespeare. If it be magic, let it be an art. This is your life, Harry Blackstone. Good night, sir, and God bless you.
Our guests are flown by TWA Transworld Airlines, who fly the Boeing 707 jets, the finest jetliner in the USA. Fly the finest. Fly TWA. This Is Your Life has been presented by new Speed Bath Lilt Home Permanent. Only Lilt has this exclusive Speed Bath set to give you the new clean way to wave. And Liquid Pearl, the shampoo that's extra rich to drench your hair in luxury.
If you're young and attractive, if you face tragedy with a smile, if you're bringing joy to the hearts of children and grown-ups alike, then next week this is your life. See you then. Good night.